James stared at the towering figure on his doorstep, her iridescent blue skin catching the afternoon sunlight like polished metal. 8 feet tall with 4 arms and eyes that glowed like amber stars, Queen Vera of the Galactic Dominion stood in his suburban driveway as casually as a neighbor borrowing sugar. "I missed you," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that made his windows vibrate. "It's time to come home." His coffee mug slipped from his fingers, shattering on the concrete. 3 years had passed since he'd last seen her face, since he'd walked away from everything he'd known among the stars to return to this small blue planet humanity called Earth. "Vera," he whispered, then caught himself. "Your Majesty." She waved one of her 4 hands dismissively. "None of that formal nonsense. We've been through too much together." Her gaze swept over his modest house, the white picket fence, the carefully maintained garden. "Is this truly what you wanted?" James stepped back, gesturing for her to enter. She had to duck significantly to fit through his doorframe, her crown of crystalline spines scraping the top. Inside his living room, she seemed even more magnificent and alien, her presence making his furniture look like dollhouse pieces. "I needed to come back," he said finally. "This is my home." Vera settled onto his couch with surprising grace, her lower set of arms folding, while her upper hands gestured as she spoke. "Your home is wherever your family needs you, and right now that's with us." The memories flooded back unbidden. James had been among the first humans to make contact when the Dominion scouts had arrived at Earth's edge 5 years ago. While governments had panicked and militaries had mobilized, he'd been part of the small diplomatic team that had boarded their massive vessels. What nobody had expected was how quickly humans had adapted to galactic technology and politics. Within months, James had become Vera's chief advisor, the first human to hold such a position in the Dominion's 1,000-year history. His insights into human nature had helped her navigate first contact protocols across dozens of species. More than that, they'd become friends. Real friends, despite the vast differences between their species. She'd taught him to pilot starships through nebulas that stretched across light years. He'd introduced her to human literature, watching her weep at the ending of Mice and Men through those luminous amber eyes. "The Council is fracturing," Vera said now, breaking his reverie. 3 systems have declared independence. The Hive Mind Collective is pushing at our borders again. I need someone I can trust, someone who sees solutions where others see only problems. James walked to his kitchen, needing the moment to think. Through the window, he could see Mrs. Peterson next door watering her roses, completely unaware that an alien queen sat in his living room. This was the life he'd chosen when he'd resigned his position and returned to Earth. Normal, quiet, predictable. "Why?" "Me?" he called back. "You have thousands of advisors." "Because you're human," Vera replied. "Your species has something the rest of us lack. When faced with impossible odds, when logic says surrender, humans find a third option. You call it stubbornness. I call it miraculous." He returned with 2 cups of tea, setting one carefully in front of her. She accepted it with all 4 hands, a gesture of deep respect in her culture. "Tell me about the fracturing," he said. For the next hour, Vera explained the political crisis consuming the Dominion. Trade disputes had escalated into armed conflicts. Ancient grievances between species were resurging. The carefully balanced alliance that had kept peace for centuries was unraveling. "The Krell want to solve everything with military force," she said. "The Ethereals insist on purely diplomatic solutions. Meanwhile, entire worlds suffer in the crossfire." James leaned back in his chair. "What does your instinct tell you?" "That I'm missing something fundamental. That there's a solution none of us can see because we're too close to the problem." She fixed him with that intense gaze. "That's what humans do. You step back and see the bigger picture." "And if I can't?" he asked. "If I'm just one man who's been away from galactic politics for 3 years?" Vera's expression softened. "Then at least I'll have my friend beside me when everything falls apart." The weight of her words settled between them. James thought about his quiet life, his job at the local college teaching xenobiology to students Who'd never seen an alien? It was peaceful, but was it purposeful? The Dominion spans 8,000 worlds, Vera continued. Billions of beings depend on the stability we've built together. If we fail, the galaxy returns to the chaos that existed before the Alliance. War, suffering, entire species wiped out over resources and territory. James closed his eyes, remembering the view from the Dominion flagship's observation deck, countless stars stretching to infinity, each one a sun-warming world full of life. He'd helped build something beautiful out there, something that mattered on a scale his human mind could barely comprehend. I have a condition, he said finally. Vera leaned forward eagerly. Earth becomes a protected world. Full membership in the Dominion, but with guaranteed autonomy. No interference in our internal affairs. Done, she said immediately. I've been trying to convince the Council of that for years anyway. Your species' potential is too valuable to waste on isolation. James stood and walked to his bedroom, pulling a duffel bag from the closet. His old diplomatic credentials were still in the desk drawer, along with the quantum communicator he'd never quite been able to throw away. How long do we have? He asked, packing quickly. My ship is in orbit. We can be at the Dominion capital in 2 days if we push the hyperdrive. When he returned to the living room, Vera was standing by his bookshelf, running one finger along the spines of his collection. She pulled out a worn copy of The Art of War and smiled. Still learning from your ancient strategists? Sun Tzu knew a thing or two about impossible situations, James replied, slinging his bag over his shoulder. Ready to save the galaxy? Vera's laugh was like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. With a human at my side? I like our odds. They walked together toward the door, toward whatever waited among the stars. Behind them, James's old life sat quiet and unchanged, but ahead lay the vast complexity of 8,000 worlds that needed what only a human could provide. The stubborn refusal to accept that any problem was truly unsolvable.